So nothing I say to you has ever delivered me to a perfect platform. It's bullshit. I don't subscribe to that nonsense anymore. We're just process. We're just into a process, keep changing form. And our free will is a gift, which means if we get stuck in a form longer because we chose to be stubborn and in denial have been in denial, then we find out later that we were and we go, oh, damn it, I got stuck there for too long. Whoopee-doo.
Yeah.
Whoopee-doo.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of weight off the shoulders, man. Like really accepting all of you.
Yeah, that's another good metaphor. I think a lot of people who are, suffering through breakups and divorces, they all think, who am I now? I used to be the wife, I used to be the husband, now I'm this thing, and not surrendering that identity and seeing what's possible, going forward. It's always dark, for these people when you speak to them. I don't know what's going to happen anymore. I'm going to be alone. Everything's going to die. And then they don't see that beauty that they will morph into a butterfly if they just change their perspective,
Yeah.
There is that possibility.
So what happened to me yesterday is lots of really important events have been leading up for 5 years, and then I got closure on something. And then someone spent a good hour sharing with me how sorry they were for being the way they were for 5 years with me.
Oh, wow.
And they pledged to be like a supernova to me. In other words, they were like a black hole for 5 years, right?
Is it important in this story arc to understand why?
I don't want to give too much respect.
Sure.
But how that links is that for years, I've been loving the fractal of the supernova from the black hole.
Yep.
And it made me go into GoDaddy and check for the domain name supernovaos.com, and I've secured it. Now, remember PMOS, Perception Management Operating System?
Yep.
Well, I'm thinking the brand could be Supernova OS.
Right.
And what that does is the platform for the pocket coach, the collaborator, the music generation. It basically allows you to navigate your black hole challenges in areas of your life where that's happening and turn your light back on and burst into a supernova.
I love it.
For the people that you love. So it's called a supernova. It's like the supernova platform.
I like it.
Supernova OS.
I like it because it reminds you of what the end game is.
Yeah.
That is the end game,
Yeah. And so imagine organizations, this is good from your perspective. Of course, I have to go through a process with my business partner and others with feedback around, is this a good brand in depth and function for it to perform the way it is? But my asking you and listeners, if you give your feedback, I really appreciate it, right? I want to ask you, if you were told by your leadership, hey guys, there's this Supernova OS and it's an operating system for human alignment, for well-being and productivity. And it's holistic and it helps people manage their perception and it helps them leverage AI simulated expert knowledge providers into any problem so that they're always problem solving in a collaborative and personal agency way. And it's got all this creative stuff in it that gets you immersed in who you're becoming. So you're constantly adapting into new ways of being and enjoying reaching new levels of protecting your well-being and reaching new levels of productivity. Yeah, it's called Supernova OS. Have you heard of it? What impact would that have on you?
I would obviously be interested in it. My honest opinion, I'll be like, okay, is there a trial? Is there a demo?
Yeah.
And then the moment I go into it, you see, not many are like us where I'm not trying to put us on a pedestal, but we are fairly vulnerable people. We address issues. Some people just don't even want to go there.
Yeah.
So the thought of doing that for them is too scary.
What if they found out Supernova, it allows their own profile, it's vaulted, so all their data is completely private to their identity? What if they know that they're being given all these tools,
but they're not tied to an identity?
Yeah,
like a human.
and then they find out that Supernova has a corporate dashboard, but it only shows how many of the organization have had perception shifts and circumstance improvements and what issues in the organization have been resolved over a timeline, that's the data that the company get. They don't get your data of what you're working on yourself.
So it's more like an avatar. You're in an avatar in there, where you're not tied to a person's name. Your identity is it's like literally an avatar. An avatar that's going through a transformation. Yeah, I think that would. I think I think trial it. Trial it with actual people, and see what their feedback is. But yeah, I think that would be the other thing as well. The privacy concern, the fact that they might not. It might need to be instructor-led at the start until they see value. It could be that too. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think it's that classic case of you just launch with the leaders and early adopters.
Oh, yes. The grassroots sort of movement.
So when the leaders and early adopters start using Supernova OS, people around them are hearing,
"It's changed my life."
Oh my gosh, did you? And imagine staff hearing two managers saying, "Oh, that Supernova OS blew my mind last night. I achieved this or I achieved that or whatever." And they're just talking amongst each other.
Yeah.
Because they're early adopters and they're leaders, and they're tasked with knowing that the ultimate goal for an organization is to create a culture that embraces Supernova OS, where everybody loves working on their perception.
Yeah.
Right? So, but the leaders are the arrowhead.
Yeah.
Early adopters. So then the early adopters are able to select the people around them that are starting to show interest, and they share and they go, "You know what? I'm going to give you special,
I like that,
advanced access."
Yeah.
Right. So they give the people that they can see are early adopters.
They will start talking.
Yeah, and then they start using it.
Yeah.
And then eventually they'll go, "All right, now we're going to let the next wave of people that are really ready to want to enjoy the power of Supernova." And so you organically roll it out in that way, not a top down, you have to use it.
Pull.
You create the pull. It has to do the heavy lifting because it's a genuine value proposition.
Right.
And like, imagine, oh my gosh, it just produced 2 songs for me. On my way home, I was listening to these songs and it completely made me feel amazing about who I'm becoming in this role or that role. Imagine that kind of talk in the office. What? It created songs about your life. Yeah, that made you feel better and different, all that sort of stuff. It's pretty cool.
I think that's a good idea. I personally, I think the challenge for me, being honest, is how will it provide feedback to me? How would it provide value to me?
Yeah.
Because you hear about all this AI stuff, but then it's like, what's the difference of it being like ChatGPT where I can just prompt it and it'll tell me everything? What's the difference? That's, I guess, the challenge where a lot of people go, "What is this?" So until you try it, until people start talking about it, that's where the pool will come. So.
Yeah. So the biggest difference really initially is that AI is very limited to how much it can tailor the content to you. And so when Supernova helps your dynamic profile hyper-personalize AI for your needs in levels of nuanced quality of guidance that resonates more deeply for you, that's very powerful, right? Also, the architecture of process helps you know what to engage next in an order and sequence. So you're just following a process of critical thinking and unpacking of your perception that you wouldn't know how to do. Not everybody knows how to deconstruct their perception, but the system facilitates a deconstruction for you.
Right.
It guides you to understand yourself in layers of depth. You didn't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
And it allows you to do that routinely.
That's very good. So it will. So when you say it's tailored to you, obviously you got to feed it input. And is there like a questionnaire that you have to fill in at the start?
Oh, very minor,
right?
Bits of questions.
Well, you got to feed
time.
it something. Yeah.
But the moment you do one perception project on it, that expands your profile.
Right.
The moment you do another one, now from then on, it knows 3, 4, 11, 12 perception projects, resistance projects linked to them. It starts to really get you and it starts to give you, and it knows your music preferences. It knows what knowledge experts are your favorite people. It starts to craft its content and its way of communicating because it's starting to really get how you like to be engaged.
Right.
And the brain needs that. The brain needs something to come to help it get to the challenges that are hiding more quickly. But the brain is a gatekeeper. Is this really relevant? Do I like it? Does it make sense to me to trust? So the hyper-personalization earns trust.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the more you engage, the better it gets.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that we talked about culture, about where we're at in the industrial, in the age that we're in, social media, and people just wanting to feel good. I call it the well-being age. Everyone's talking about well-being.
Yeah.
We have well-being committees, all sorts of stuff happening.
Yeah.
So this will definitely, it's timing, really.
And the thing is, like, well-being and productivity are not meant to be diametrically opposed. But the way we've grown, it's like work-life balance. It's like it's turned into a tug of war, isn't it?
You choose one or the other.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
mutually exclusive.
And you're trying to bounce between the two, and then now you're getting burnt out again, and then you back off, and then you feel like you're behind the 8 ball again on productivity and feel guilty, and because
Yeah.
What this system does is it helps you shift your perception constantly so that you are hitting ideas to achieve more for less effort. So what happens is it protects your well-being while making you more productive. It reduces stress, which makes you a better decision maker. It allows you to be more effective, get more job satisfaction without the extra hours that are caused by high stress and work fatigue, because you're becoming less productive and you have to hang in the work more. So well-being is, a huge component of a foundation of sustainable value exchange.
Yep.
The moment the well-being of any one of us is compromised, the productivity is now on a short leash before that well-being collapses, where that person has a breakdown, or that person makes a mistake at work and gets injured. Or, do you know what I mean? So you can't focus on productivity without
well-being
undermining the true sustainability of that productivity through the foundation of well-being. You can't do it. And we've never looked at it holistically like that for forever, until now. I feel like the world is starting to get serious about looking at things holistically,
Yeah.
And therefore, do you remember not long ago, it'd be like, how is reducing stress going to make us more money? How is reducing stress going to make the business better? Why should we spend more money on reducing stress? What, like literally, where is the scientific evidence that people having more confidence and improving their well-being equates to a better bottom line? Where is the science there? Like, seriously?
Yeah.
Like, we had that attitude in leadership where it's like, I don't believe happy, mentally clear people that feel like they belong improves decision making and compounds those decisions into higher productivity.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I need evidence and proof that it's already happened somewhere enough for me to believe it. It's like, wow.
And then they saw how Google did it, and Google was a big thing.
So from your research with Google, you saw they did it.
Well, everybody did. It was a big hoo-ha. Everyone's saying, oh, they've got the slides, they've got good food, they've got. And I went to Google myself. One of my in-laws works there. And no joke, they've got smoked salmon and lobsters, and you're like, here, and then they've got breakout rooms. They had music jamming rooms.
Yeah.
And
oh my gosh.
And you're like, what is going on? And then they've got rooms where you can play PlayStation 5 and you can just go whenever you feel like it. And they've got arcades. And I was like, what is this? And everyone's talking about it, And I went back with my findings.
Yeah.
And, obviously there was a correlation between well-being and productivity that, like you said, it was just demonized,
Yeah, but look, I also know that those optics of extreme recreation and trusting staff that they are trustworthy, that their instincts to do good they'll do the PlayStation, they'll have a little jam music, but they'll take that form of being in a good mood into their work and their gratitude for being trusted into their work.
Yes.
And it gives momentum, right?
Yes.
But you have to top down look at where people are accidentally losing their way and not getting an accountability environment where those toys become distractive to their productivity doesn't matter, right? Because unfortunately, the brain can slide into, I can take without receiving, black hole.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to, it's a work in progress.
I can take without
game.
giving.
Yeah. Yeah, I can take without giving because no one's complaining.
Yeah.
And my brain keeps seeing toys everywhere, which means my brain says play. I'm here to play. This is my environment. I'm here. But obviously Google knew that give them the play, but create the balance of we're here to do amazing things. And we're here to care, have a great work ethic, be proud, but we want you to play too. We want you to enjoy your life and know the importance of your well-being. And I would say Google must have got it right enough to allow themselves to continue their uplift and become who they've become. But I'd say if you interviewed them, they'll talk about the wobble there and how they had to learn a lot around, are we going too far one way or the other? And they kept learning through that wobble, consolidating to that middle more and more. And it probably still is a work in progress to this very day.
Yeah, because it's all perception based. It's all based on the individual,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting because one of the reasons why I'm looking at workplace culture. I will not go to a place where well-being isn't a priority. I've made that decision now at 40. I'm not going there. I don't care because well-being, my ability to matter and to provide value is more important now than just getting paid big dollars. Because I can do, like right now what I'm doing with you, I can do this all day and work and have that balance at work as well. It's amazing. Like
it's so good.
Why would I trade this for a place where I have to work 10 times harder, but then I lose myself in
Yeah.
Where, yeah.
And Azlan, look at the difference that makes to you when you're doing something like this that you love. You're leveraging the multi-purpose of it.
Yes.
Around shifting yourself, seeing things differently, going in with more motivation, more conviction.
More empathy towards black holes.
More empathy to black holes.
Man, I treated those black holes like they were the scum of the earth. Right now, I can actually see that there's gonna be something that's gonna be fundamentally shift in me because I didn't know that they could become a supernova.
Yeah, but the other thing is that there's a threat if everybody's shining.
No,
I'm talking about the dilemma for us as humans.
Oh,
yeah, but if I put a lot of effort to make everyone else shine, I'll be dwarfed into a darkness. It's the black hole illusion that everyone shine, you're going to swallow up as if it means nothing. No. Everyone shine when you love it, you celebrate it, you keep feeding more ways for it to shine. That makes you the supernova.
And you receive those compliments.
Well, it's very hard to stop the compliments when these guys are stars and they're shining everywhere, including your direction.
And then you get roped into this pedestal. Well, I mean, from my experience, when you come across as a good leader, people say, Azlan, they're all rallying because of you, and then you suddenly you get high off this drug, like I have to consciously now after talking to you, I have to consciously go, no.
Well, that's interesting because I think there's a learning for us around how do you balance that reaction so that you're not going too extreme? You're not going, oh no, I'm just a humble black hole.
Yeah. Accepting it gracefully without putting yourself on the pedestal.
Or going, I am a supernova. You should be grateful. Because a supernova is not a supernova by entitlement and claiming it is. You see what I mean?
I think the balance there is to validate that what they're saying is aligned to your understanding already, your knowing already that you are a supernova. It's just proof. It's just an external validation of what you internally believe in. If you treat it like that.
Yeah. And I also think that when you know you matter before you're a supernova.
Yeah, that's right.
Then the supernova is not some bullshit you're trying to attach yourself as an identity to matter.
Yes.
That is huge. I'm glad we had that conversation. You won't get to supernova unless you come home to the truth that you matter and you matter forever.
And you're capable.
Wow.
Yeah, it's. I have the same analogy, but it's a bit more crude than yours.
I reckon they're going to like it
They're gonna
more
like-
than more. Go on.
So my analogy is, I was talking to my wife the other day.
Yeah.
One person said to me, "Azlan, you're so stingy," and I looked at my wife and I didn't react.
Oh, yeah.
And then I spoke to my wife later. I said, "You know why I didn't react?" And then she says, "Why?" And I said, "Okay, imagine I say you've got a penis. Are you gonna open your skirt and show them you've got a vagina?" And she says, "No." I say, "Why not?" And she says, "Because I know I don't have a penis." And then I went,
Oh,
precisely.
shit. You just trumped the supernova analogy.
So I mean, the basis.
I'm a black hole now.
No, I mean it's not similar. It's really different because supernovas. Anyway,
I love it.
But it centers around
No,
knowing.
it's
knowing.
a great point. It's like, do you know? Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you know?
That you
because if
matter.
someone else says water is not wet, are you going to run to the water and splash it and go, no, it is. Look, it's wet.
Yeah.
You don't. You go, okay, that's interesting what your brain is doing to reality.
But I think everyone's path is to figure out, how do you know that you've got a penis or vagina? I'm sorry, but how do you know that, how do you build your foundation to the point where you can
now
go?
I've stuffed up your
Now you
search.
stuffed it up.
Now you're going to go, oh, damn it, that's not to be censored. George, stop using the word censor.
Yeah. But that is the challenge, isn't it? The challenge is for a person to figure out, how do I get to the point where I know that I matter? What is my universal truth? How do I get there? Because honestly, that's a very hard question, especially for a religious person. I mean, they think they're here on a mission to do something, to please someone.
Yeah.
And then, do you really matter? Is the challenge.
Yeah.
How do you get there?
Yeah, and I think the philosophy around, if something doesn't exist and then some power of will for it to exist brings it into existence, okay? We can then say that obviously linear time didn't factor because that power of will somehow existed beyond time. It was like it was always there. And it's beyond our brain because we love to think linear. We'd like to think there's a beginning and end.
Yeah.
Right? So then you think, what kind of power that isn't even a servant to time, right, brings into existence the awareness of self, the free will to choose what to do with self, the ideas to dance with, to adopt into a form, to then express through, and then the beautiful physics of opposite equal reaction for the universe then to gift you the realities that come to give you the experience of your form. In other words, if I'm kind, do I find people wanting to be kind back? If I'm overkind, do I find people become self-entitled and take too much and get used to me being overkind? This is all experience, right? That power to give something that existence in that way is the greatest gift we've ever been given. And to start to want to marginalize it and make it as if it's not enough evidence that we matter, well, that's just us experimenting with ungrateful forms, ignorant, ungrateful, disconnected forms.
That's an interesting perspective. My perspective, what made me create that strong foundation was this idea that I'm a creator, that I can leverage the power of the universe to create, and that power is always shining its love on me. Because I used to feel that I had to do certain things to get love from the Almighty, and I was never enough. And so when how I got there was I had to change that belief and go, there is this other thing that is shining its love to me constantly. All I have to do is look. It's like the sun.
Yeah.
Like we talk about the sun.
Yeah.
The sun is always there, even though it's at night. If you have negative thoughts, if you feel like lousy, the sun is still there. It's still shining. If you're in space, it's always shining. So that's my question then was, how do I always be in space? To get that love from that power.
Yeah.
And to know that power is always there, loving me, knowing that I matter. That's how my mind shifted. But I like your perspective because for you, it's more like that power is giving you all of this, and how can you? Yeah.
But it's giving all of us this.
Yeah, all of us.
And therefore, I don't need to know I matter by being better than anyone.
Yeah.
I actually celebrate the loving equality of the source to say you are all gifted
all of you.
with the fractal of me made in my image.
Yeah.
I gift you me in you to go forth and expand with your will, your imagination as a collective of what I am.
And when anyone makes that shift that you and I have made in that context, different ideas but similar, then that's when their foundation starts to take hold,
Yes. And so if my brain complicates that philosophy, then that's my journey to how else do I need to calibrate, align? What ideas are keeping me from that beautiful truth that makes my heart expand when I think and connect to it? And so that's why I'm a work in progress, right? But I just shared with you the philosophy. So because you said, how do you know you matter? It's like, well, your heart knows you matter. Your subconscious complicates it. And I think being human is about how do you go through the maze of that complication into the true you that doesn't complicate your worth, doesn't complicate your belonging, doesn't complicate your nature of being eternal. Because God is not on a budget. The universe is not on a resource budget to quash you into nothing because you got lost in a form that disconnected you from truth and love. You see, if you get disconnected from truth and love, you become a black hole. You take. You might even feel self-entitled. You might even have hate to justify the take, And so you're lost. But guess what? It's hell because you're isolated. Nothing is enough. What kind of punishment is that? It's intrinsic in the experience, isn't it? It's immediate karma. It's immediate blowback. The moment I feel nothing can prove to me that I am something, I am in hell.
Correct.
And therefore, I'm living the hell. And so what? The universe goes, yeah, nah, can we conjure up something worse than hell? Because, I'm bored and I want to punish parts of me that I've conceived into expansion further because, like, why not? like to me, I feel like the punishment is in the attitude already built in.
Yep.
If you've got the wrong attitude, if you believe that you can exist and not matter, then you will misuse your free will and you'll misuse your imagination and use dumb ideas to bury yourself into struggle every day.
Yep.
But if you then one day say, I'm going to take a risk that I matter, and everybody has to give me compelling logic to prove that I don't, that's a big line in the sand. Flip it around. Make people prove you don't matter. And there's a difference between mattering and whether you're giving value or not. If people think you're not giving value, understanding enough to find ways to be of value the best you can, but also know what's value back to you and let them do the same for you, right? It's a dance of value exchange. But you matter. You're a player. No one can ever take away that you're a player in existence, and that's why you matter. But when we feel rock bottom, when we feel lost, we don't feel like a player. We feel like just so deflated into nothing. We barely can conjure a reason to get out of bed or make an effort towards anything. And we drag ourselves as if, wow, look how lost we can get and disconnected, and our energy just goes away. It's like, do you know why energy goes away? Because bad ideas don't deserve energy.
Interesting.
Bad ideas don't deserve the energy of expression. And when we innately feel we don't matter, that's a bad idea. So we depress. We don't want to press into life with a bad idea we don't matter, that we're not capable. That's a lie. We are flogging the bad idea of a lie. So we depress our energy, get flat. And why do we get flat? Maybe we're supposed to get into the cocoon and go, what form do I need to be out of the caterpillar that thinks it can just crawl and life is as good as it gets at that low level? Can't I fly? Can't I suck on nectar instead of bitter green leaves? Can my life be better? When we depress, we're in that stillness to contemplate, what are the bad ideas that I have withdrawn my energy from? Let me pay attention. Let me observe the form I was in that was robbing me and not making me want to energize it anymore. Isn't that interesting?
It's very interesting. It's very interesting.
So depression has been stigmatized into, oh, he's depressed, he's down, you
Genetics.
know. Come on, man, come on, just get up, get back into it, you'll be better. Like, it's like, hang on a minute, that person is flat for a reason. They need a quality process into who they want to become before they get off the couch. What can we do to help them see life differently, be different for themselves, so that they can feel like they're not going to go back to the same world that's going to bash them up the same way, and they're going to bash themselves up in the same way. So depression is meant to be a metamorphosis opportunity, not a you're broken, you're flawed, there's something wrong with you. Maybe you need drugs just to help you function and be normal.
Let me ask you this then. Is it our responsibility to facilitate that metamorphosis? Or do we leave that to the higher power, to the universe, to do it for them, make them realize it themselves?
Yeah, no, I think our job is to invite.
Invite.
Invite
Not
only.
be responsible.
Well, you're not responsible. You invite with love. You invite creatively. You're trying to reach them. Talk to their heart. Come up with ideas to make them feel and entertain ideas they haven't before. Hold the energy, the space for them to know they matter in your world as part of your gift to contribute to their metamorphosis. But you're not responsible. In other words, I don't want anyone to grab me and control the way I think to yank me out of my struggle on anything.
Yeah.
That would be very disrespectful.
Yep.
It's like, you know what I mean? We don't want to surrender our free will to someone else to dictate how we think and what to believe in and how to change and when to change and where to change to. We don't want that, right?
Yeah.
Because then we're not human anymore. We're just a program and someone else is programming us. That wouldn't make sense.
Right. I see how this ties into the pocket coach now, because it invites you.
It's all invitation. It all validates you that this is normal. To be in this version is normal, and this is why you're held into it. But does it serve you? Here are some ideas to help you evaluate whether it serves you.
Do you want to stay here? Yeah.
Do you want to be different with these other ideas of looking at it this way, that way? Does that make more sense to you? It guides you with you are the pilot of your form. And that's the way it should be. Because you are the pilot. You are the player.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think a lot of people lecture other people and tell them how they need to be. And that creates a defense mechanism to say, you're trying to rob me of my free will. And I categorically cannot do that because I am nothing that matters without my free will.
Yeah, and then they have an allergic reaction to your advice.
Definitely.
But it is the approach, you're right. It is the invitation versus I'm lecturing.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
You can innovate the invitation.
Yeah.
But if they refuse the best you could come up with in that innovation of the invitation, then you have a boundary not to sink thinking you have to keep going into forever. So you can say, I keep doing my best to reach you. I've done this, I've done that because I care about you. I just hope you just lean in and maybe think about the things I've been suggesting because I do love you and I do believe in you and I do care for you and I know you can. But I also get it's hard and I know you have to find your way. But if you want me to come and engage you in any way that you think helps you, I am there for you. That's another invitation, you see, because they're the ones in control. So that's compassion and that's love. And, you know, that's how we can be there for each other. But when that person knows that you're not there anymore, that you respect them to dig deep into themselves and decide to find with their free will that they matter. You see, if people are being distracted by you taking their free will from them, they will never then realize they're not using their free will for themselves. So when you stop distracting them from taking their free will, it doesn't matter that you're not. It matters that they think you are.
Yeah, correct.
All right.
That's the experience.
Yeah, exactly. And therefore, then they're left with their rock bottom, and then they might create another rock bottom deeper, because we're good at that. But then eventually it'll be like, nothing I've tried has worked. Nothing, right? What is going on? Like, why have I reached this place? Like, what is this? What's wrong with me? What am I being that's got me here? That's the beginning of humility. That's the beginning of curiosity. These are the keys to activating into truth. Humility and curiosity are the only way there. And everything that stops you from your humility and curiosity will keep the form you're in and the punishment it comes with.
Right.
And how do you get to humility and curiosity? When you're finally convinced that nothing outside of you is the answer. Isn't that interesting? Which means if inside of me is the answer,
what am I doing?
Where is it? Where is it hiding? You know, because it's been hiding pretty well. Well, you haven't been looking. It can't hide that well. But if you don't look, it may as well be. It's like the boy look in the pantry. Where's the sauce? Right in front of you. I didn't see it. Where's the sauce? Right in front of you. There. Damn. Like it was right there and I wasn't seeing it. It's because you weren't really looking for the source. You were too invested in the pain of no source existing.
Yes. You got me thinking now about parenting.
Yeah.
Do you then facilitate depression to help them become a supernova? Because, you know, for me, what changed me completely, for me to get to that understanding that nothing outside of me is responsible for me but me, was when my father told me they were going bankrupt. And I had to work as a dishwasher for $10 an hour. During weekends, when all my friends are out partying, they'll come to this restaurant. I'll be cleaning dishes and they'll look at me and go, "Oh, Azlan, hey." And I remember going home one day and I used to blame my father for my predicament. And one day I remember I went home at 7 o'clock. My hands were, you know, when you wash dishes for a long time, your hand just becomes like this. It just gets locked in, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, it gets locked in.
Well, you can't move your fingers anymore. Wow.
He's doing that the whole night.
Yeah.
And so I remember my hands were like this. And then I said, "I forgive you. You know, it's over. I don't want to have you be responsible for me anymore. You know, it's my time to fix myself."
What was it about your hands being stiff, and what was it about that moment that let you say that?
Because on the way home, I was blaming him for my hands.
Yeah.
And I was saying,
but why did you stop blaming him for it?
Well, because I realized at that moment that I had the power. It was in my. I have to stop blaming him for everything. I blame him for the job. I blame him for my hands. I blame him for me coming home at 7 a.m. But I realized that
that were your hands.
Yeah, they were my hands. They were my choices.
You live with those stiff hands. What are you going to do about it?
That's right.
Because if your dad's in charge of your hands, they're going to stay that way.
That's right. And
is that what it was?
That was partially what it was. Yeah. And it was my inability that depression caused me to go, you know what, I've stopped. Nobody's going to take control of how I feel or what my thing is. Everything from religion to my work to everything is all me now. This is me. This is all on me now.
I would call that an existential crisis.
There you go.
But a positive one.
Yeah.
Because you went, hang on a minute, I'm existing in the energy of everyone else has to be different for me. Now I decide I have to be different for me.
Yeah.
I will take charge.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
And that made me curious. What am I? You know, who am I? And so I started going to this Krishna things and reading books on, you know, conversations.
Humility and curiosity kicked in.
Yeah.
And you started to want to absorb the world. You turned on your eyes.
It was the best years of my life. Like that 2 years of learning. What am I? I remember I was so curious, so like a sponge. You know, you read The Power of Now from Eckhart Tolle and you're like, what is this? And it all goes in. And I can only imagine if my mom or my father were to say, force their truth on me, you know, this is how you heal through this book. It would have destroyed me, but they didn't. They gave me the wings to fly. So coming back to parenting, I mean, I've seen kids who've had it easy their whole lives and not have this moment where they have to go, who's responsible for me? To facilitate that, that's going to be difficult for a parent like me who tends to want to give everything. I don't want you to do the hard yards. But I think now with your supernova, at some point they have to be in a controlled environment where they are experiencing that black hole. I don't know if this is the right thing, but for them to come out realizing that, hey, you know what, I matter. Can a parent who gives everything facilitate that emotion in a child, or do they have to go through a black hole? I guess is the question.
All right. Okay. So I just need to understand, right? Are you saying when your child feels pain or discomfort,
which I never allow him to?
There you go. You've answered the question. Why not? Because negativity is evil.
Yeah. Well, this was before this. That was an hour ago.
Yeah. Like I've walked through that door or walking through it.
Yeah.
And we're demonizing negativity is a big issue for us because electricity needs negative and positive. And so we want that current of movement, the power, the joy of movement to go from A to B, from the place I don't want to be to the place I want to be. Why are we denying the electricity of our existence, the energy, the dynamic moving?
Because it hurts for a parent to see a child in negative because
only because in the moment of not succeeding, the pain of you are nothing is the deception. You see, if you know you matter, you have the luxury to learn why you haven't achieved what is important to you yet and enjoy the journey. But if you've hooked that you are nothing without success, without achieving your goals, then the negativity that may exist that keeps you from it is the shame of you not mattering. So you don't want to look there. You need to push forward. And so he's accidentally shaming his son accidentally into not tolerating a moment of uncertainty, of feeling bad about being blocked from things that matter to you. You're accidentally shaming him to say you're not allowed to be in any negative space to build a desire to create a positive journey. You're not allowed. You have to be in positive already and at least sell everyone that you're already there, even while you're sneaking there the quickest way you can.
Yeah.
And you're accidentally doing that. And not because you don't love him, but it's because that's how you've treated yourself and that's how you were taught to treat yourself most of your life. And this is the relay race of our parents and their parents, and they're just passing down the same ideas of how to be. And I was raised in the same environment. It is very similar. And that's why I see parents, they argue in front of their children. Everyone's afraid of being wrong. And so we create that environment where you're not allowed to be wrong. You're not allowed to be negative. You're not allowed to feel weak for a moment and then understand why you feel weak to be able to do something about it.
To become a supernova.
So initially when you framed it to me, it was really interesting because I was trying to understand, why does it sound negative? And it was like, are you saying I need to let my son stay in a black hole?
Should I facilitate it? Was a question, but I understand that it's not about facilitating. It's about allowing him to feel that way because he will, and stepping back and watching him make the most out of it.
Here's the point. If he's in a black hole, he's already in a black hole. Right? So therefore, what are you going to do about it? Shame him? No.
Yeah. I mean, in the past,
Yeah. No. But the thing is, if he's in a black hole and he feels your love.
I'm the sun shining.
And he's allowed to take and not believe in his moment that he matters or that anything is going to make his life better. He's allowed that gift of free will. I think that is the greatest act of love. When someone decides to believe the biggest lies ever and they're being loved for the permission to hold that space in that moment. Because if you can help someone feel safe in their greatest delusion, it will humble them to be curious where does that love come from?
I agree with that statement.
That's good. That's nice.
Yeah, I've got a few things to learn when it comes to parenting.
Are you saying you're not perfect?
I'm a work in progress, being a work in progress.
Exactly.
It is something I'm learning. Yeah, I grew up not like, don't worry, we'll get you this, we'll get you that. I never really remembered a time where I struggled at all or was allowed to feel bad. Like, I just want to read to you a text my mother sent me.
Yeah.
I was joking about this leadership course, and I said, look, I don't even know what's happening. I'm talking to all sorts of senior people, just jokingly, you know. And she says, and she messaged me, don't feel that way.
Yeah.
So negativity has never been something that
has been embraced as a part of a process.
That's right.
And I think our global culture's like that, Azlan. Like, we generally are afraid of negativity. That's why positivity became the beating chest of success. It's like be positive, never be negative, right?
Yeah.
Now, remember we talked about extremes? This is just an extreme because toxic positivity is when you think everything has to be all good. Toxic negativity is when you have to believe everything has to be all bad.
Damn. It's a balance, isn't it? Oh, man.
That old chestnut.
That old chestnut of balance. But yeah, no. It's funny how we came full circle. I managed to talk about all the stuff that I wanted to talk about, which related to what you were talking about. And it's just come one full circle.
Back to, we're just works in progress.
That's right.
Trying to navigate out of extremes and into our flow of what next form to be. And that we're allowed to bumble through it. We're allowed to get stuck in parts with our denial, our stubbornness.
And embracing it.
Our denial of our denial. And being human is messy. It is so messy and yet so beautiful. And I think that's a beautiful note to end on. Huh?
All right, then. With that, everyone, thanks so much for joining us. We've gone for 2 hours now, so that's amazing. But yeah, George, you want to say anything?
No, just ciao for now. Thank you for coming on the journey with our bantering.